I'm not a particularly jealous person. I don't get jealous easily. But I've definitely felt it before, and it's one of the worst feelings in the world because it just attacks your self-worth. It attacks your very core, and you're like, am I good enough? I don't know. Jealousy is one of those emotions that can be easily translated into a sort of paranoia. It gets to a point where you create a situation in your head complete with a backstory. I mean, you have like scenes in your head that you make up by yourself. They're not even true. It's terribly unhealthy. I don't recommend it. Uh-oh, it smells like trouble again. The way you're lighting up fact after fact got me feeling like your story's been. So the word smell here was used because I wanted to highlight the suggestiveness of the situation rather than like the concreteness of it. But when you smell something, you can't really be sure of what it is compared to when you look at something, like you know what it is. For example, if I smell like my grandma's apple pie, I can guess that my grandma is baking an apple pie in the kitchen, but I can't really be sure. I'm just smelling it. I guess so. When I actually walk to the kitchen and I see the apple pie, I'm like, oh, my grandma made an apple pie. The girl here is suspecting that he's cheating on her or he likes somebody else, but she can't really be sure. Oh no, I should've known you'd come with the way you hold up your head, barely hanging, telling me it's done. So here's where the imagination starts. She kind of imagines that he's gonna leave her for another girl. You know how when you put that thought in your head, oh, he's gonna leave me for another girl, that seed, and you kind of water it with your imagination and you imagine like, oh, he's probably out there with her right now and he's probably like, oh, he didn't text me back, he's probably texting her, you know, these kind of things. It kind of just, you spiral down and the entire thing just turns into a big ugly monster. And I think the lesson to learn here is really like what kind of thoughts and what kind of seeds you should be putting in your head. I don't appreciate your slight insinuations. You might as well go ahead and put your knife right through my chest. You haven't demonstrated no reciprocation. I'll bet you wanna bet. So she's overanalyzing things right now, and she's thinking that he's insinuating things like, oh, babe, you wanna go in separate cars? And she's like, oh my gosh, he hates me. If you didn't have me, baby, you'd be happier with her, happier with her. If you didn't have me, baby, you'd be happier with her, happier with her. So the chorus is sort of like the peak or like the points of explosion, you know, when you have constantly thought about all these scenes and imagine about all these things that might not actually be true, but you're just like, okay, this is it. And you're like, if you didn't have me. And it's just like an ugly accusation of something that might not be true. Well, what do you know? You seem so nervous now. The way you're pacing back and forth, pathetically ignoring the simple-minded fact that your secret's out. So she's daydreaming about confronting him and blowing his cover, so to speak. When you have an argument with somebody and you go back home and you think about it and you're like, oh, that would have been such a great comeback. And you're just like reveling in that triumphant moment. Yes, I got you, I beat you, but it didn't actually happen. That's it. I contemplate about what matters most, head to toe. Negotiate, high and weight, her body, mind and soul. So this is by far my favorite lyric that I have ever written in my entire life. I think it's very easy to compare yourself with somebody who you think is better than you. It's just easy to go like, oh, she's so pretty, I'm not pretty enough. She's so smart, I'm not smart enough. You know, sometimes, aside from falling into that bottomless pit of self-pity, you try to negotiate. Sometimes you're like, oh, she's tall and beautiful, but I have long hair. I have like longer hair than she does, so, and like that kind of evens us out, this kind of things. There's so much land left on her skin, your lips have yet to say it. I'll bet you wanna bet. And of course, she gets to thinking about the physicals. It can get pretty graphic in your head. It was sort of pivotal for me when I decided to publish this song. It was identity forming in a sense. Like, I knew the kind of songwriter that I wanted to be. I wanted to tell honest stories, even if that meant that sometimes I had to talk about some ugly things. And it's not to say that I condone like spiraling down into a pit that you might have dug yourself or bathing in your negative thoughts. But I think it's okay to talk about it. I think it's important to talk about it. Me writing this song and singing about it is me talking about it. Because a lot of my songs are cathartic in nature. This is me acknowledging it and coming to terms with it.